Hello and welcome to this week's edition of The Olive Tree. I'm Julia Fisher and my guest today is Maayan Shoshani. I'm in the UK, Maayan is in Tel Aviv in Israel, and through the wonders of technology we're able to record this programme, something we've become used to doing during the COVID pandemic. Hello Maayan, welcome to the programme. And thank you for making the time to speak to me today because I know you're very busy. But let's put your story in context. You're one of the team members of Jews for Jesus in Israel, and recently you've been involved in opening a home cum respite centre for homeless women in Tel Aviv, many of them prostitutes and drug addicts. Why? Why now?
So we've been giving out food on the streets for people who struggle with addiction, mainly to drugs, but also alcoholism, women and men dealing with prostitution, working in prostitution, drug dealing, and then also just people who are homeless and have no place to sleep. And usually all of that are involved together. But what we've really seen the past almost 4 years now, is that women just don't have a place to go. If they do want to get out, get clean from drugs, go to rehabilitation, and then move on and start something new in their lives, there's almost no facility, no homes, houses, hostels who do that for women in Israel, for Hebrew-speaking women, not here in the area or in Israel. And we're really seeing the need just for them for another stage past just the initial 3-week rehab and detox from drugs. And after that, it's just they don't have family usually. They don't have a home to go back to. And we've just seen that there's just a need, such a need for another step for them to go somewhere, to be able to live somewhere, even just for a season. So we finally opened that.
So where are they? If there are no homes like this available, where do they go? What are they doing? Where are they sleeping, living?
So they're on the streets, either sleeping on a bench or in a very temporary hostel somewhere in the city of Tel Aviv. There are many of those, but it's limited usually for a night or a few weeks, and then they have to go back either to the streets or to rehab. So they either sleep on the streets or with a friend, or the women sleep with a man that they found somewhere, either a client of theirs in prostitution or just someone they gotten to know. But usually those aren't very healthy relationships.
So you're describing a big problem in Israel. There's a lot of women like this.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's
a lot?
Why do you think it's so serious?
I think it's just all intertwined with each other, and I think we just can see it. It's very, very clear to see in Tel Aviv. Most of them come to Tel Aviv just because people call it the city of opportunity and the city that never sleeps. So it's a big city with a lot of people, and even though there are so many opportunities here for working, for living, for studying, there's a lot of nightlife and just a lot of people who are very lonely. And I think coming here, you can find anything you're looking for the good and the bad, very easily. So we see that in Tel Aviv mainly. And we just see that usually it comes from either an initial trauma that happened, mostly to the women, either from their family, someone they knew, something that happened along the way, the death of a close parent, anything like that. And from there, it usually starts with drugs just to numb the pain, to numb what they've been feeling, the memories of what happened to them. And then when you start doing drugs, you have to also have the money to buy drugs again and again. And usually for women, that option is prostitution, just because they've become so addicted. Yeah.
So it's a double
problem. Like a vicious, yes, it's a vicious cycle, you could say.
So you've been involved in planning and setting up this home, this new facility. Tell me about it.
So it's been very exciting, and we just opened 2 months ago now, which is very, very exciting. We've had 3 women come in, one of them left, but right now we have 2 women, and we have a few more beds for women to come in. But it was a lot of planning, a lot of time, both for the staff to just be trained and know what they're doing, because these women have been through so much. We wanted to come prepared as much as we could. just to deal with what they've been through, what they need, and how we even start and begin the way to healing, the way to a new hope, to going back to work, even finding a new job after being living on the streets and being in prostitution for so long. So it's been really exciting just getting the house ready. It's a beautiful home outside of Tel Aviv in a close city nearby. And it's been really exciting just getting it ready for them and then seeing them come in and getting so excited about living in a place that feels like a home. There's a living room, there's a kitchen, there's a room just for them. So it was really, really exciting, the whole thing, just the whole process.
So how many women can you take at any one time?
So we can have up to 7. And if we need, we can even have 8.
And how many staff do you have to look after them? Because I should think it's 24/7, isn't it?
Yes. So we have 2 house mothers, which are there during the day. They have a little devotion time with them in the morning. And then they have breakfast and they have their meals together. They cook, they clean. And then we have the shift workers, which there's 4 of them. And then they do the evening and the night shifts. So there's always a staff member at the house 24/7 in case something happens, even in the middle of the night. So they're there the whole week together with the girls.
And what sort of a program? You just mentioned you hinted at a program, a daily program there. But what is your aim? They wake up in the morning. What do you aim to do with them during the day?
Mm-hmm. So the whole point is for them to kind of get back to the normal life, what they would call a normal life, as in finding an apartment on their own, getting a job. So the first few months they come to the house, it's a time for them to just heal and rest because of what they've been through and where they're coming from. We want to give them time to really just rest and start healing before we actually go into the practical place. So there's a lot of, we do little workshops for volunteers or different women coming from the outside. We have someone who comes in and teaches them how to sew once a day or then once a week. They cook actually for the street population. So they cook, they make cookies, they bake, and then they bring the food so we can give it out on the streets. So it's like their gift to the people who are still, or they were. And then we just have different workshops, they go on little hikes twice a week. And then there's different thing, gardening. We just try that every day they'll have some sort of activity, just not to sit around, but still be able to have that time to really rest and start processing.
Now, are they still on drugs when they come into your home?
No, when they come in, they need to be clean for the first 3 weeks at least.
So where does that take
Completely clean.
place? Where does that take place?
So there's other facilities because the initial detox is very, very hard physically for the body to go through something like that. So they go to a different facility. It's kind of like a little clinic, and they treat them and they help them go through it with a medical team, a full medical team, so they can actually go through it and get well after that.
You say you've got 2 women there at the moment. I think you mentioned that one had left.
Mm-hmm.
Was that because she just couldn't stand the routine or something lured her away or what happened?
It's just their old life. It's we know that these women coming from what they've been through. We hope, but we also acknowledge the reality that usually it takes more than one try, and actually for the average addict, it takes 7 times till you actually can break through of the addiction cycle. So it's just their old life coming back again, clients calling them or them going out of the house and it being too much, just being clean and dealing and processing with trauma, with what they've been doing and what's been happening in their life until the point that they've come to the house. So it's just their life coming back. And we really try to let them, at least in the first few months, just stay in the house so they can be safe from everything that they've been through, because there's still people trying to contact them and just people from their history that doesn't just cut out in one day, even if they've moved into the house. So we tried to be them, and even that woman that left, we told her that she has an open door if she wants to come back, if she wants to get clean from drugs again. there is an open door and they know that they can come back and try again if they're willing to.
So you're trying to rehabilitate them back into some sort of normality. I guess for many of them, they've been on drugs and on the streets for sometimes years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, some of them even for 20, 30 years.
So they're very, very sick.
Yeah. And you can just imagine, I could just imagine, not even the beginning of what that would be like, to starting to come out of that sort of life.
Do some of them have children? Are you dealing
Yeah,
with that
many
as
of
well?
them. We try not to get too involved in the relationships. But yes, some of them do. A lot of them do have kids. And because a lot of them have been in it for years, so their kids are older. They're not young kids. They're grown-ups. So if they do want to start and renew the relationship, if the relationship has been disconnected or been broken, if they do want to start, so we just see how we can help them do that and not really get too involved in the relationship, because the child also needs to want to see them, and that's not always the case. So we try to see where we can help and renew, but we also don't want to get too involved and ruin that relationship.
Maayan, you're a team member of Jews for Jesus. This is quite a new departure for Jews for Jesus, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
But some,
it's
but something
yeah,
that you
go
can
ahead.
see develop. This is something you can see developing in the future.
Yes, it's a new project because we know that it's not just evangelism, it's actually the women coming and seeing the hope and seeing what they can have or what can happen for them in their life. So it's a bit of a different approach, and not just sharing the gospel in words, but actually letting them live in a house where they can get to really live and experience and see what that means and what renewed hope means.
It's a very bold project. Maayan, we're going to hear more from you on next week's programme, but for now, thank you for sharing your stories so far. We look forward to hearing more.
Thank you for having me.
The Olive Tree Reconciliation Fund is a Christian charity based in the UK that supports the needs of both Jewish believers and Arab or Palestinian Christians living in Israel and the wider Middle East. If you'd like to know more about our work and receive our free bi-monthly newsletter, please visit our website, olivetreefund.org. Meanwhile, join me at the same time next week for another story from the Olive Tree. Until then, goodbye.